How's it going, guys? Thanks for joining me on my small engine repair channel. In today's project, I'm going to show you how I properly store my summer lawn equipment for the winter season. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me. Today's video is a pretty important one, I find, because the majority of the problems I find with equipment that doesn't start in the spring has to do with one major mistake that everyone makes when storing their equipment. And that happens to be storing it with fuel left in the fuel system. And not as big of a deal in the fuel tank as it is specifically in the carburetor. Okay, so on this lawnmower, right, the carburetor's right there, and what I find is that people store their equipment over the winter with fuel could be from the spring of this year, all right, all the way to the spring of next year. And what happens is, especially if it has ethanol in the fuel, the fuel turns a little bit gummy and bad, and it gums up the carburetor, and then it won't start in the springtime. So my number one tip for storing your equipment, whether it's a lawnmower, a leaf blower, a trimmer, is you must empty the fuel system on these things. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is there's not much fuel left in the tank, but I'm going to pull off this fuel line. I'm going to empty the fuel out of the tank as best I can, reattach the fuel line, and then I'm going to start this machine and let it run out of gas. That will actually get rid of all of the fuel that's sitting in this float bowl of the carburetor on this lawnmower, and therefore it will run it dry. When you go to pull it out in the springtime, you put some nice fresh, if you can find non-ethanol gasoline, put that into your fuel tank, and I can almost guarantee you that this thing will start in the spring for you. Alright guys, and before I take the lawnmower outside, I'm going to do the same thing with my two-stroke equipment. If there's any residual fuel left in there, I'm going to go ahead and pour that out. Alright guys, so the equipment all has their fuel tanks emptied. Now it's time to take them outside and to completely run each and every one of them out of gas. Okay, just before I get started, I have put a tie of some sort to keep the bail handle engaged, so that when I run this machine, it will run on its own and I don't have to hold that handle while I work on the other two. Alright guys, so my lawnmower has already run out of gas. It was only about 90 seconds. I haven't even got a chance to start these other two yet, so I'm just going to continue to start these up. Now with these ones, what you're going to want to do is continuously keep priming it. Even if you get it started, you're going to want to, keep, even if it dies because it runs out of fuel, prime it again, try to restart it. As it runs out of gas, you're going to probably want to run it on the choke setting as well, and that will also draw as much of the fuel out of the carburetor into the engine, and therefore leave less in there. You can see there's still fuel in the system because I got fuel in that primer bulb, or purge bulb. These things don't even want to start. So you can see it's kind of starting, but then stalling out real quick. So I'm just leaving it on choke, letting it trying to burn out as much of this is left that's left. Alright, that's it guys. No more coming out of there. It's all back together. Should be ready to go for next year. Put some fresh fuel in there. A couple pumps on the primer. It should fire up for us. See if we can even get this one started. Alright. My thought is what we're going to do, probably should have left the whatever little bit of fuel was in there, left it in there, got it started, and then while it was running, empty the fuel out of the fuel tank, and that way it will actually, we need it to run to try and get as much of that fuel out of the carburetor that's currently in there. So I'm going to put a little bit of fuel back in there, see if we can get this thing started. Alright, I put some gas in it. Let's see what happens. Now keep in mind guys, this thing hasn't run in about 6 weeks, maybe even 8 weeks. So hopefully there's nothing wrong in the carburetor. The primer bulb is filling up, so that's a good sign. Now that it's running, I'm going to empty that fuel back out. Now we're going to let it run out of gas, which shouldn't take too long. Okay, so it died off. Again, we'll just try and get it started. Now that it's warm, it might actually start with the choke on there. Try and I'll keep doing this until it just won't start at all. Alright, she won't start up anymore, so that's it. So that's how I get my stuff prepared for the winter storage, guys. You don't want to store it with any fuel in the carburetors. That's my number one thing I come across that causes these things not to start. So hopefully it was informative. If you liked the content, please show me a little love. Smash the like button down below, and consider subscribing. Lots of other videos on my channel pertaining to the small engine repair stuff. So until our next project, take care.